Okay, so middle of winter, time to get ready for figs. Yeah, time to get ready for figs. That's next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here today. It's actually the second week of January, and we are in the middle of pruning season for Lori and I. So real busy time for us as far as coming back through. It's the beginning of the year, getting ready for the production of this year, and that really all starts with now. Everything that we do now actually gears us towards maximum production here on the farm, and of course one of the things that we always are looking at is our figs. So I'm going to link figs here. We got a playlist that shows you several different varieties that we have growing here on the farm. One of the first videos we did was actually on these 2 brown turkey figs that we have back here. So we've already talked about these before, but had a lot of requests from you guys as far as, hey, when do I prune? How do I prune? You know, how much do I cut back? You know, what is it supposed to look like in the end? A lot of questions, and we've had some experience with these. We've had these in the ground now for 4 years, so this will be the 3rd round of pruning that we've done on these. And we've gotten some amazing production. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through first. I'm going to point out some things that I look at first. You guys are going to come along with me, so let's take a look. Okay, so first thing we need to look at is we need to look at the tree as a whole. So the tree itself, it's actually very balanced. If you were to look around the tree, it's about the same diameter no matter where you're at in the tree. Height-wise, it's all about the same height. Looks like we top out at about 7 feet or so, which is really, really high when it comes to harvesting, which makes it difficult to harvest. So we need to look at balance. So I've already been doing that since we've got all the leaves on the ground, and they're not blocking any of our branching. So the next thing I look at is the base. So if Lori wants to squeeze in a little bit, we're going to look at the base. So the base of the tree, you can see we got a lot of sucker growth out of there, which is not necessarily bad per se, because all of those are going to be brown turkey figs. It's not a grafted tree, so it's not an issue with suckers taking away necessarily from the growth, but kind of hard to get in there and manage the tree when it comes to, again, harvest. We want to make sure we're trying to ease harvest time as best we can with our figs. So I'm going to start out with actually going through around the bottom and cutting out the bottom. Now, why do I do the bottom first? The reason why I do the bottom first, fig trees obviously go dormant during the winter time, which means what they do is they pull the sap back down into the trunk and into the roots, and that's actually where they hold the sap, and then they push it back out in the spring when it's nice and warm and produce new growth and, of course, fruit. So right now, this is the lowest period of time where you're going to get sap running from the tree. Now, one of the things with figs is the sap is very caustic. So it can cause allergies in people, strong allergies. You can get an allergic reaction in your skin. Laura and I both have that, and it's pretty common to get kind of itchy skin. Even during the summertime, even brushing up against the green leaves will do that. And of course, if you break off one of those leaves or you break off a piece of fruit, it immediately starts bleeding this latex, sticky sap that just kind of almost pours from the tree during the middle of summer. What you'll see as we go through and start pruning is we're not going to have that as we prune because that sap's pulled back down into the tree. However, there still will be a little bit of sap coming out, so I start with the bottom because I don't want the sap falling down on top of me as I go through and try to finish up pruning. So I'll be going through and dealing with the bottom. So we'll get that up. Also, we're looking for any branches that are pointing down. So if Lori wants to squeeze in even closer, this guy right here is definitely going to be a goner because he's pointing straight down to the ground. He's going to continue to grow once we get into the spring, and this comes back out of dormancy. It's going to continue to just grow right into the ground. We definitely don't want that because we don't want to have fruit on the ground, literally growing on the ground. So we'll be cleaning that up. Also, any branches that are crossing. So you can see this branch right here. It's not doing it too bad, but it's going to. So as it continues to grow, it's going to cross. This is crossing over there. That's going to come wrap around this side. So we got several areas where we've got branches that are crossing. Anytime you have that, you have an opportunity for bacteria, funguses, and that kind of thing to get into the tree and actually damage or kill the tree. So wherever we can, we want to make sure we're taking away those crossing branches. So that's probably about it. Oh, and then overall height. So 7 feet when you're trying to get to figs, which are making you itchy, and it's the middle of summer when they're ripe, and it's 120 degrees. You know, all those things combined makes you not want to go into the middle of the tree to try to get stuff, and it also makes you not want to try to reach up here past a bunch of leaves in order to get to some type of growth or new fig or something up here. It's out of reach for me. So I need to bring this back down. Looking at my cuts from last year, I can see I have a cut here. This is all new growth this year. And the way our brown turkeys are, we get a Breba harvest in the spring, and we get a main crop in the fall. But our Breba crop is actually very, very good, tasty fruit, some nice big fruit. And then of course we get right into our main crops pretty much all summer with a few exceptions. So I'm going to go ahead and at least get down to here again, probably come down a little bit further on some of these branches because I need to bring the tree down. So enough of me yammering on about what are we going to do. Let's actually get to pruning. Okay, so I wanted to take a quick break and show you guys a couple of the details as far as some of this cutting. So if Lori wants to kind of finagle her way in, let's talk a little bit about this big cut that I just made. So right here in the middle of the tree, I've still got a nice balanced tree as far as where the growth is. This was one of the higher growths. It was starting to cross and do some crazy things on me, but if Lori can squeeze in nice and tight, for those of you who have fig trees, you'll know if you did this during the summertime, this would just have white latex all over the place, just be pouring down the tree. So this really gives you a good idea of just how much that sap pulls into that root and base of the tree trunk, so you don't have that. Also, where I'm doing these cuts, so as best I can, I try to keep the cuts just above the collar, so there's kind of a more plumpness right next to the trunk here. I try to make it so that it's just as it starts to taper in into the branch itself. So if I was to show another branch to you, like this branch here, you can see there's a kind of a wide part here and then it starts to narrow. I would make that cut essentially right here. So as I'm doing the cuts, this is where I'm cutting, allows them to heal over really well and not damage the trunk of the tree. So that I wanted to show you. It's already dry, which is what you're looking for when you're doing pruning. So great part about wintertime pruning on fig trees here in Arizona, they dry nice and fast, heal over really well. Next thing I'm going to do too, that you guys are going to be seeing here as I'm inside the middle of the tree, I'm going to be taking out all the growth that's here right in the middle of the tree. Not completely, but a lot of this inward growth I'm going to take out. Obviously, we want to do the bulk of our harvesting on the outside of the tree, so we'll be looking at that. But I also am going to be doing something here with this tree that we were usually doing with our peach trees, which I really like, because we still get fruit that's going to grow on the inside here. I'm actually going to create a little pathway probably on this side because this is north facing. I don't want to make it south facing because I don't want too much of that sun to be coming into the tree and into the trunk itself. But I am going to make a small pathway essentially between these two branches so I can come in from the north side and we can do some harvesting from the inside of the tree without having to try to reach across and do all this crazy stuff. So I'm going to make this little pathway too. You guys will see that as we move forward. Okay, so now you can kind of see the final product. So that's what we took. So if you do a glimpse back and a fast forward, you'll see how much we really took this down. And that is the aftermath. Lori actually pointed something out. It kind of does look like antlers on the ground, the way they're kind of shaped. But one thing about this, we're going to do a couple things with what we have sitting here. First thing is I'm going to link a video here where Lori and I talk a little bit about doing fig cuttings. Now our summertime fig cuttings, we get about a 25 to 50% take rate in the summertime. So far we've had 100% in the wintertime. So our second chance to try our hand at cuttings and rooting out cuttings. So we're going to take some of these that are about a ½ inch or so thick, maybe ½ inch to an inch thick, and see if we can make a few extra trees and bring them with us to the new property. So we're going to be doing that. We're selecting some specific sticks that are nice and straight for that. The rest of this though is going to go into the chipper and be fed back to the tree. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so we're done. So that is basically it. So you literally got to walk through step by step how we do a fig tree. This is the biggest fig tree we've actually pruned so far, but essentially it's fully grown. At 4 years in, right at 4 years in, it's pretty much a fully grown fig tree. You can see behind me what we have left over. A couple things you saw us do towards the end there, of course, was wood chips. We're big fans of using permaculture wherever we possibly can. One of those basic things would be replenishing those things and putting them back into the soil, which is what we're doing with these, and reusing them. So putting them back into that system. So obviously a tree has nice, deep, wide roots. It's constantly mining minerals, which is why figs are fantastic and high potassium fruits. It's getting those different minerals from the soil. And you know what? You got those branches and stems. Some of those were pretty good size. We were able to get through this little chipper, but we were able to basically take those things that have been pulling nutrients, feeding the figs. Now what we're doing is we're actually putting those right back into the soil, and onto the top is the best way to do that. So you saw that. One other thing I want to mention while we wrap up is what we're focusing on when it comes to our pruning. Now, as you guys may or may not know, we're going to be moving on to a 6-acre new piece of flat desert land and starting over. Probably a little crazy, but we're excited about it. But one of the things that I'm keeping in mind as I'm going through and I'm pruning this year is I need to go through and prune for production, because we should still be here at least for the beginning of our fig production, but also for aesthetics, because I don't know who's going to wind up with this property. I want to make sure that the trees look really nice as well. So I probably would have actually taken this down another foot or so, because I know how much growth it's going to put on and how much production it's going to give us. But at the same time, I wanted to get a nice balanced tree, have a nice big bushy tree once we get into the fall, just a beautiful looking tree as well. Still counting and looking forward to that amazing production that we get year after year on our fig trees. So just want to thank you guys for joining us today. You know what, a little longer episode, but we had a lot of questions on how you actually go through and prune a mature fig tree. Wanted to make sure we showed you as much as we possibly could. So hopefully we satisfied all those questions we've been getting with today's episode. Glad you were here. You know, if you haven't done so already, hey, subscribe to our channel. You know, we cover a lot of things here on the channel. Obviously, fruit trees is a big part of that here. But you know, moving on to the new property, we got a lot of livestock. We're taking raw desert land to farm. Would love it if you would join us and subscribe to the channel. And hey, you know what? If you haven't seen us on Instagram and Facebook, hey, follow us over there. There's a lot of things that we post on Instagram and Facebook that we don't discuss or show you here on YouTube. We'll love to see you guys there. And hey, if you have any questions or comments, hey, leave them in the comment section down below. Like I always say, Lori and I really enjoy interacting with you guys. This is a great format to do that. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. That's where today comes into play. That's way too long. Shorten that up. Shorten that up, Dwayne. It's too wordy. I know it's been a little bit of a longer, yeah, let's do that again. We just want to thank you for joining us today.